you think of when you hear the word opportunity? Is it one career-defining event, an internship at a prestigious institution, for example, or an ideal job offer? It seems to me that people often think of opportunity in the singular, my one big break, the opportunity of a lifetime. It is as if opportunity is merely a door we can walk through, and the moment we do so, we find success. So people often spend a lot of time looking for that door, convinced that stepping through it will change their lives. The immigrant in me resists this definition of opportunity as a singular transformative event. I think about this every time I'm asked how I, an Egyptian immigrant, published novels in English. Whenever I hear this question, I feel I'm expected to confirm the narrative of the successful immigrant, which is one example of the narrative of the transformative power of the one big opportunity. According to this narrative, I had potential that I could not fulfill in my country of birth. So I came to the United States, worked hard, and found my personal door labeled opportunity. I walked through it, I achieved my potential. Simple enough. I understand why many people would want to believe this narrative. It seems to explain why immigrants are often quite successful. We are more likely to start businesses than native-born Americans are. Our kids are more likely to move up the economic ladder. Many argue this happens because we possess the immigrant mindset, which makes us look for opportunities everywhere. All of this may be true, but it is also simplistic. For one thing, I feel it romanticizes my experience as an immigrant, painting me as a magical creature who possesses an inherent potential that others lack and an inner compass that leads straight to the door of opportunity. It seems that immigrants cannot escape stereotypes. We are either inherently dangerous or supernatural. We are, of course, neither. What many of us seem to possess is a different approach to opportunity. I believe many immigrants understand early on that that door of opportunity will not appear until we prove ourselves worthy of it. We do so by completing a series of tasks that almost always have two things in common. One, they hint at a potential for growth. Two, they are uncomfortable or inconvenient, which is why most people reject them. Simply put, we do things that others don't want to do because we see the potential in these tasks and, more importantly, because we are used to discomfort. Instead of wasting our time looking for that one big opportunity, we focus instead on finding smaller opportunities for growth, knowing fully well that growth is an extremely uncomfortable process. I'm here today to argue that people should stop looking for that one big opportunity and should instead learn to embrace discomfort, because that is the key to the door of opportunity. Immigrants are not magical creatures. We are just perpetually uncomfortable. And that, believe it or not, is a good thing. I came to the US 27 years ago. I would love to pretend that I came in pursuit of the American dream, but that's not true. I came in pursuit of a young Egyptian doctor I fell in love with. At the time, he was a medical student, and he had always believed in the American dream and its promise. He wanted to come to the US to finish his medical training. I just wanted to be with him. So we both arrived here on a frigid November day in 1998 with one suitcase each and a conviction that we would fit in. We had every reason to believe so. We both spoke fluent English. We had gone to private schools in Alexandria, Egypt, where we grew up in constant contact with Europeans. And we consumed American movies and music at a rate that fooled us into believing we knew everything we needed to know about America. We thought we would easily assimilate. But assimilation did not prove to be easy. Not only did we leave our friends and families behind, but we became the other in a way that did not align with how we viewed ourselves. We thought of ourselves as fully westernized, but shocker, we didn't look white and we spoke English with an accent. Even today, after I've spent more than half of my life in the US, I stand here and talk to you, and I'm quite self-conscious about my accent. I suspect that most people, when they hear me speak, don't see a fellow American. They see an immigrant because they hear an immigrant. This would have been true even if I were talking about the weather. especially if I were talking about the weather, considering that I still have trouble pronouncing the TH sounds. Ask any automated system that tried to understand me when I said the number 3. What happens then is that many immigrants, like me, become hyper-aware of our otherness because we're often reminded of it. Even legitimate, well-meaning questions such as, "But where are you originally from?" catch us off guard. We feel that we belong here, but then someone says something that reminds us that we are different. And that moment of remembrance is jolting. This cycle repeats itself so often that many of us walk around perpetually self-conscious. But here's the good news. Perpetual discomfort desensitizes immigrants to discomfort, making us more likely to take on these uncomfortable tasks when they present themselves. This is a good thing because these tasks, in hindsight, often prove to be the reason that door of opportunity eventually appears. For me, these tasks often involved public speaking, which at a much younger age I was terrified of. I thought I would embarrass myself, and I often did. I still remember when I was an undergraduate student here at Marshall, and my professor asked me if I would submit a paper I had written in an English class to a conference. At the time, I had come back to school to switch careers, abandoning my degree in architecture in favor of a degree in English. When my professor asked if I would submit my paper, I jumped at what I recognized was an opportunity to stand out and grow. The paper was accepted, I presented it, all went well, until it was time for the Q&A, when a member of the audience asked my fellow panelists and me a question, not about our own presentations, but about each other's. I was expected to talk about her presentation, and she was expected to talk about mine. I, of course, hadn't been paying attention to anything she said. I also had not and still have not read The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which was the topic of her presentation. I gave a nonsensical answer, and to make matters worse, my professor was sitting in the audience. This was 15 years ago, and I still remember it because it was utterly embarrassing. And yet, when I was asked to present another paper at another conference the following year, I said yes. I could not say no to any task that promised growth, even if I knew it would be uncomfortable. In fact, I often took on tasks that promised growth, even if they were practically inconvenient. In hindsight, these tasks, too, proved to be the reason that door of opportunity eventually appeared. A few years after these conferences, I decided to write a novel for my master's degree creative thesis. At the time, I could have earned that degree by submitting a 120-page collection of short stories, half of which I had already written. Instead, I chose to write a novel from scratch while I was taking classes, teaching for the first time, and looking after my 2 young children. I chose to write 250 pages in 1 year when I could have written perhaps 60, mainly because I could not resist the opportunity for growth. I was going to work with a writer I admired and respected, and I jumped at the opportunity to learn from her. If I had stopped to consider how inconvenient this would have been, I wouldn't have done it. I would have worked less and earned the same degree. It would have made perfect logical sense. But here's the twist. If I had prioritized my comfort over the chance to grow, I would not have published my novels, and I would not be standing here today. That conference I presented at, where I embarrassed myself, that was one of the many times I spent traveling with my professor, who would become my mentor and who would manifest my one true door of opportunity years later. She is the reason my novel got published. That first novel, of course, was the 250-page master's degree thesis. I'm grateful that immigration taught me to embrace my discomfort and take on these tasks that promise growth. I did so not because I ever believed I had potential, but because I sensed these tasks did. They had the potential to turn me into the person I desperately wanted to be, and I knew that person would be the one allowed through the door of opportunity if it ever materialized. Here's the humbling truth. Many immigrants like me take on these uncomfortable tasks because we are desperate to stand out. We are desperate to prove we were right, to leave our families behind and become perpetually foreign, and because we are used to discomfort, and discomfort is the key to the door of opportunity. At the end of the day, opportunity is not a clear chance at success. It's not a door marked, enter here and your dreams shall come true. It is all you have to do beforehand, so that if you are lucky enough and that door ever appears, you can stand in front of it and say, here, I have your key in my hand. I have earned it. Immigrants know that, and now you do too. So the next time you're asked to do something that might be uncomfortable, but that could also lead to growth, consider saying yes. You may look back decades later and be very glad that you did. Thank you.